Let's get you the 5 top defining images of the war that is going on in Ukraine. Widespread destruction all around Ukraine turns fierce. On your screens is the scary aftermath of heavy bombing caused by relentless attacks of Russian forces in Ukrainian town of Kyiv in Kyiv region. Following the Russian invasion of Ukraine, anti-war protests erupt in Finland's capital city of Helsinki. Thousands of protesters took to streets and marched in support of Ukraine. Ukrainian servicemen escort civilians out of the town of Irpin on the northwest outskirts of the capital Kyiv. Men in military uniform hold guns, guarding as people carry plastic bags and suitcases across a makeshift bridge and made their way to buses waiting to evacuate them. The visuals on your screen show a video released by the Russian Defense Ministry that shows Russian paratroopers landing and taking control of airfield in Ukraine. The aftermath of the attacks has left the capital Kyiv and adjoining cities deserted and in devastating condition. The visuals on your screen show bomb craters, destroyed houses and damaged buildings in Ukraine's Bollywood village. The war is now into 18th day and it seems like Zelenskyy is budging from his hard stance. On Saturday, Zelenskyy proposed to meet Putin with a condition that Israel mediates the talks. Zelenskyy asked Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett to act as an intermediary. This comes at the back of a German Chancellor and French President Macron dialing Putin, urging the Russian president to agree on an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia has escalated the offensive on Kyiv. Ukraine's defense ministry claims the Russians shot at women and children who were trying to evacuate along a green corridor in Kyiv, killing 7 people. 1 child is also dead. The Ukrainian president said Russia was sending in new troops after Ukrainian forces had put 31 of his battalion tactical troops out of action. Putin had approved bringing volunteer fighters from Syria and other countries to join Russia's offensive. On Sunday, Ukraine claimed to shoot down 2 Russian choppers in Kherson. India today has been keeping you updated on the action from Kyiv. Russian troops are now going all out to capture cities surrounding capital, and Gaurav Sawant gets you this report from the suburbs.
Massive damage in Russian bombing in this residential area in the Kyiv region. This is Bela Serkov. This is about 70 kilometers from the heart of Kyiv. And just look around. These are residential homes that have been damaged in the shelling. Destruction here and multiple rockets, multiple rounds fired in this area, and many homes in this area have been destroyed. This was somebody's house. The entire frontage here has been destroyed. The study room there, the kitchen there, everything stands destroyed. And this is just one home. Let me also show you the destruction at another home here. And many homes, whether you look at the shrapnel in that house, whether you look at the destruction in this house, or you look at the damage in that house. And this entire locality has now been vacated. As you can see in images, soon after the bombing, people are rushing out of here. They're leaving this area because it's considered unsafe. Now, one set of rocket that comes and then that volley continues to come in. These are civilian areas that are being targeted. The soldiers say that there is no military installation in this area, and yet residential blocks continue to be targeted on the outskirts of Kyiv. With cameraman Pawan Kumar in Bela Serkov, Ukraine, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
The once vibrant city of Kyiv has now turned into a ghost town. The streets are deserted with more roadblocks than the cars. The few residents left are bracing for an imminent Russian attack. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Maria Pisarenko reporting from Kyiv, Ukraine, the capital of country which has been battling Russia for 17 days already. And here in Kyiv it has been suspiciously quiet for the recent 5 or even 6 days, the time which is used here to build better barricades and to get ready for the great battle for Kyiv. Some of the cafes in city center Kyiv look like this, so they're empty, nobody is inside, but you can see the light which is left from the last shift of 23rd of February, and also a lot of sweets just staying there in the fridge. Usually this road is crowded afternoon. There is heavy traffic because everybody trying to leave the city or go back to city. It's one of the major ones in Kyiv, but right now not so many cars can be seen right here.
Nearly 20 days into Russia-Ukraine crisis, but no breakthrough into the soaring tensions. While Russia's endgame seems unclear, Ukrainian men in uniform have put up a fight back. Here's India Today's exclusive report from inside a territorial army training, where weapons training for soldiers takes place to fight for their motherland. Take a look.
On 22nd February, in the dead of the night, Vladimir Putin sent his men to invade Ukraine. Many believed it would be only a matter of days before the mighty Russian military got the better of the Ukrainian forces. Nearly 20 days after the escalation, Russia's endgame seems unclear as it battles a tough, ready for war and a fierce Ukraine military. The men in uniform have put up a fight back that Putin miscalculated, leaving the Russian army completely stunned. In a world exclusive, India Today went where no channel has been, inside a territorial army training. 3-day mandatory refresher course with classroom and weapons training for these soldiers. To counter Russian infiltration, the Ukrainian army has changed the armband for troops overnight.
In a conversation, we were told that the Russians, to distinguish their own men from the Ukrainian forces, were using yellow armband and were putting a yellow band in their legs as well, so that they could tell whether they're Russians or not. But the Ukrainian side now have moved color itself. Now they moved to blue, and if this continues on a regular basis, they'll keep shifting to yellow and blue as the situation may arise.
Obviously, it's all for kind of the to prevent infiltration forces and to kind of tell friend from foe, because it gives Ukraine this tiny bit of advantage. It could be a few hours, but to just root out the diversion squads and the saboteurs which are present. This is a fact. They have not all been eliminated.
Soviet-era nuclear bunkers from the 1980s have been reactivated now by Ukraine. Dark and dingy, these bunkers are now home to hundreds of soldiers.
This is a Soviet-era bomb shelter, and when the conversation is on about going nuclear, that Russia is threatening to go nuclear, these are the very same things that they're pulling out. They could be, Philip, today redundant, but gas masks could very well be essential in times to come.
Well, there are certain concerns about the actual expiry date and the usability of these gas masks, because they've been around since the year 1980. They've been stored here and they would have an expiry date on them. So using these gas masks, I doubt would provide any protection.
Fighting for their motherland and ready to lay down their life for the soil, Ukraine's troops have exhibited exemplary courage, grit and determination in a fight back like no other in recent history.
Soviet-era nuclear shelter now being used as a bomb shelter, this even as there is ongoing battle between Russian forces and the Ukrainian forces, only hoping that a negotiation of peace is really something that they arrive at, the Russian side and the Ukrainian side. In a nuclear bomb shelter somewhere in Kyiv, Geeta Mohan for India Today with VT journalist Syed Mohsen.
Amidst ruthless shellings and mass destruction of the Ukraine war, Ukrainian officials have alleged that the mayor of Melitopol city, Ivan Fedorov, was kidnapped after he refused to cooperate with the Russian military occupying the city. Here's more.
The war in Ukraine is raging on for nearly 20 days now. Russia has repeatedly assured the international community that it's not targeting civilians, despite contrary reports from the ground. This is the moment mayor of a city called Melitopol, Ivan Fedorov, is abducted, allegedly by Russian soldiers. The video shows Russian soldiers taking the mayor out of a building with his head covered. Ukraine's Internal Affairs Ministry confirmed that the mayor was abducted after he refused to cooperate with the Russians. There's no information about Mayor Fedorov's whereabouts. His city is in Russian control. Ukrainian President Zelenskyy condemned the abduction, calling it a sign of Russia's weakness.
Today in Melitopol, the invaders captured mayor of the city, Ivan Fedorov, a mayor who courageously defends Ukraine and the people of his community. Obviously, this is a sign of the weakness of the invaders.
The kidnapping has sparked a flurry of protests. Thousands of Melitopol residents marched to the administration building, demanding the release of their mayor. According to Ukrainian media, Russian forces entered Melitopol on the second day of their invasion. Since then, the mayor had led several rallies with thousands of attendees. On March 5th, Fedorov reportedly said that the situation in the city was getting difficult due to a food and medicine shortage. The mayor also called for a humanitarian corridor to let the residents leave, which was denied by Russian forces. Bureau Report, India Today.
The highest level of talks between Russian and Ukrainian foreign ministers in Turkey ended without any breakthrough. On the ground, the city of Mariupol remains surrounded by Russian forces, which keep on raiding the city regularly. Here's a news report. Ukraine is a beautiful country filled with bustling cities and many tourist sites. But we have shown you firsthand how this lovely country has been ravaged by the war. Once brimming with life and urban settlements, now reduced to rubbles. Here are some before and after images of towns that are now either in ruins or have become ghost towns.
Unfortunately, all that's left for one to see in Ukraine now is non-stop missile attacks and explosions, the bloodstains of innocent civilians on roads, and heartbreaking scenes of citizens fleeing from their own home with tears. Images on your screens show the mass destruction captured in the central city of Ukraine in Dnipro. Once bustling and full of life, massive shelling and continuous airstrikes by Russia has reduced the buildings of the city to debris. The beautiful town of Volnovakha has also been impacted by heavy shelling in the last few weeks. The intensity of the attacks is visible. Smoke continues to emerge from the buildings that are burnt and in shambles. Kyiv, the second largest city in Ukraine, continues to be one of the worst hit. Yatskoka, a village in the suburbs of Kyiv, is now filled with scenes of heavy damage to residential buildings. These videos are from a suburb in Barishivka of the capital city of Kyiv, which is in ruins. The outskirts of the region has been reduced to rubble. Commercial establishments are burnt, residential buildings reduced to debris.
Ukraine is also a traveler's paradise. This is one of those last genuine destinations in Europe where you can explore a lot of areas. And this is a tourist paradise, or at least it was, when lakhs and lakhs of tourists visited this country earlier. Now the problem is this country is just struggling to stay afloat amidst the Russian invasion. With cameraman Pawan Kumar in Kyiv, Ukraine, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
People around the world staged demonstrations against Moscow's war against Ukraine. People in large numbers with anti-war banners protested in Slovakia, Georgia's Tbilisi and Finland's Helsinki. In Slovakia, people came together to extend support to Ukraine. They hit the streets with anti-war and anti-Putin banners. Children were also part of the demonstration. An anti-war rally under the Ukrainian flag took place near the Russian embassy in Georgia's Tbilisi. Protesters raised slogans in support of Ukraine. Thousands of people came together to showcase their support for Ukraine in Helsinki. Russians have been raising their voice in the war. More than 5,000 people were arrested taking part in protests against Moscow's war in Ukraine in 69 cities across the country on 10th March. Jailed Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny called for anti-war protests in Moscow and other cities today. According to protest monitoring group OVD, close to 14,000 people have been detained at the anti-war demonstration in Russia since the start of the invasion.
Putin, tyranny, ubийца! Putin, tyranny, ubийца! Putin, tyranny, ubийца! Putin, tyranny, ubийца! Putin, tyranny.
We're slipping to a very short commercial break, but leaving you with few images of aftermath burning from Ukraine on your screens right now. See you in just about a bit.